It's unfortunately an area that companies need to assume is going to happen to them, kind of rather than when. And I think we haven't quite got across that sort of line yet.
So my first question is employers' rising awareness and investments in cybersecurity, as reported by the survey, a response to high-profile attacks on the likes of JLR and M&S?
Yeah, it's interesting. In the report, a lot of the manufacturers are saying that they have kind of seen rising awareness of cybersecurity this year. And I suppose that wasn't surprising to us because of the high profile attacks there's been. So it does feel like they're kind of, unfortunately, that's been a stark reminder of the sort of tangible and reputational aspects of cyber. And I suppose what we're seeing now is that it's unfortunately an area that companies need to assume is going to happen to them, kind of rather than when. And I think we haven't quite got across that sort of line yet, but it does feel like, for what we're seeing at PwC and our clients, is we're helping with people with being able to plan for it, cope, and then think of that. So, unfortunately, I think we have to be at the stage where this is really just a key business risk, one that we need to plan for, unfortunately, in the same way as we've always planned for other risks.
Do you expect that to continue beyond this year? Or do you think that they'll reach a certain amount of investment and then that will plateau?
That's a really good question. So I think we see people continuing to invest in those measures. I don't see plateau. I think there's probably a piece where everybody's very aware that the threat will evolve and will continue to change. And actually what we're finding at the moment is that this sector and industrial sectors are prime targets of bad actors, because for them actually getting to operational equipment is unfortunately lucrative, and therefore we need to really kind of focus on how we protect and look forward to across the whole of the OT, as we'd call it, and all that operational equipment out there, and really look at that ongoing investment. So some of that's going to be in people. So a lot of this is training and really planning for what disaster recovery would look like, and what is the kind of minimum viable options, and the minimum viable kind of operations that a business would have if this happens to them. And how they really kind of go back to the basics and keep their business going. So I'd say it's always going to be there as a cost. I don't necessarily see it plateauing, but I suppose, like everything, there will be short-term fluctuations, but the trend has to be towards greater cybersecurity focus.
Yes, you mentioned it briefly there. Do you expect then a corresponding increase in investments in cybersecurity skills, perhaps through apprenticeships?
Yes, I think skills is big point in cybersecurity, and it's that persistent challenge we see through industrials and services throughout the UK, is that continuous point. One of the key things that, again, through the Make UK and PwC survey that we're seeing is that investment in skills development and reskilling, and that includes cybersecurity skills. And really, people, unfortunately, you and me are some of the key areas where it can go wrong in cybersecurity, because it's human actions. So actually that whole kind of learning and skilling, and then also people of diverse talent and technology talents being able to come in and help manufacturers with how they protect themselves. So I'd expect that investment in skills will increase alongside that technology investment.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So should then government, regulatory bodies, schools, teachers be prioritising the teaching of cybersecurity skills to prepare young people to work in this area?
I think that's, fascinating question. I think what we're seeing is in the education system more broadly that, kind of real core digital literacy skills and basic security. You're seeing that awareness, and how do we continue to grow that in our young people as they come in then into the workplace? They have much better skills than me in digital literacy, and we're all having to grow. So certainly at PwC, we've spent a lot of time reskilling me and skilling people like me up the curve on using AI, using a lot of our tools to really just kind of make me much better at what I have at my fingertips to be able to use for my job. And it's exactly the same. I think we've seen some young people coming into the workforce that are just so literate in this, and therefore how do we get them onto either vocational pathways to really upskill and be kind of stars of the future in this, and how do we kind of get a bit of a skills framework around what we need in the future workforce? I think that's a really interesting pace, and to be honest, should really be something that we all agree on, for making sure that kind of the jobs and the skills follow this area.
Okay, fantastic. So you think it's at the base level, at least, there ought to be better awareness that there are these, not just digital literacy, but also awareness of these career paths that they could go into.
Yeah, it'd be lovely to feel that our young people and others who want to reskill, it's not really about youth all the time, but others who want to reskill can see these as opportunities, and that I think it's going to be a huge part of every sector across our country, and therefore people being able to see the job opportunities and the pathways to be able to skill in this area of cybersecurity will be really important.
Yeah, and you mentioned it briefly earlier. Do you have an idea of what role artificial intelligence could play in cybersecurity going forward, as a sort of defensive mechanism rather than offensive one?
Yes. I think AI will be, it just has to be, and I suppose it's definitely going to be important as we look at threat detection and our response. So I certainly, from what I see of my use of AI through my job, it's the vast amounts of data that can get through and spotting patterns and other things. So I'd say a lot of it is about being able to use it in that front. I'm not an expert, so I'm sure there are people who could answer much better than me in our firm, but it does feel like that must be part of our defense mechanism, and how we could use some level of sort of AI augmentation in our security, working with the human expertise, and I suppose amplifying their effectiveness.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, thank you so much for speaking with us today, and thank you for the and also for your work on the survey as well. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, really helpful for us as well. I do recommend people go out and read it.
Great. Yeah, and it'd be great to have more people have a look at it and see where we are.
Have you noticed a developing interest from employers in cybersecurity skills?
Yes, absolutely. We've noticed a growing interest in students with cybersecurity skills from a work experience point of view, but also from apprenticeships and further education. Obviously, we're based in Gloucestershire, and there's a number of organisations that we work with that obviously have invested interest in cybersecurity. I think as we move forward over the last 10 years, this interest has increased, because obviously as organisations who have a computer-based element, which includes nearly all organisations who have a digital footprint, they are required to conform to the Computer Misuse Act, the General Data Protection Act, both in terms of making sure that their customer data is secure, but also in terms of Digital 4.0 and making sure that the supply chain is also secure too. So this includes organisations that build aerospace technology, but also with GCHQ and the roles that some of our students get involved with there.
Fantastic, thank you. So have you noticed a similar developing interest among students and potential students, people looking at the school?
Absolutely. So our student base has been developing over the last 7 years whilst we've been open. I've been here 6 years now, and slowly but surely our student base is growing. And this is very true in the digital sector, as well as obviously our engineering provision that we offer. And there's an interest over both those areas, because obviously engineering really doesn't sort of become something without a digital input into that. So our courses are getting increasingly more subscribed to. The course numbers of students on each course is going up every year. And that's as much to do with the sector getting sort of a higher visual sort of portfolio, I guess, out there for people to know that some things are going on. But it's also to do with the fact that people are becoming more aware of us as a UTC, and that we provide a good quality education in the area, which is really, really important. So getting out there and getting the message that we are here as an education provider, and that students have the choice to come here, is as much as important as students realising that a qualification in a subject that has a career pathway is also really important.
So what does high quality cybersecurity provision look like? How are you delivering that at the UTC?
So at the UTC, we offer a broad curriculum for students to be able to choose different subjects that they want to do, both at a Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5. So our intake starts in Year 10. So for example, in Year 10, students can take a number of different subjects. Obviously, they have to do their maths and English and science, and there's a sport provision. But we offer 2 pathways that they can take, and they can mix those pathways up, both in engineering and digital. I'm head of digital, and we offer a cybersecurity and digital forensics course, which is a level 2 qualification, so it's the equivalent of a GCSE. It isn't on the main league tables that the government give us. We agreed with the our governors that we wanted to provide a qualification that would enable students to look a little bit different, so that their curriculum vitae stood up to what they were actually interested in. The course has 4 units where they slowly build on their knowledge about what cybersecurity looks like in terms of themselves and their personal security, right up to how organisations and also nation states need to protect their information. In the final part of the course, they learn to build a server, they attack it, and then they fix it. We have quite a lot of support from the University of Gloucestershire. Their PhD students come in and they help run part of that course. So other courses that we run, we have our traditional GCSE computer science, which most of our students take, and it provides really sort of our bread and butter, as it were, and a real grounding across the board in hardware, software, networking and security, which they're examined on in the traditional way. We also offer a creative iMedia course. Obviously, we are talking about the digitization of everything, and that goes hand in hand with what we're doing, and also their security in those products that they are creating. And where AI fits into that as well, also along with the cybersecurity. And we also offer an enterprise course, which is looking at small to medium-sized organisations. And clearly, as you can see from what we're saying before, the creative iMedia and the cybersecurity elements all fit in with that. So they get a provision which gives them a broad outlook of how the digitisation of our economy and how organisations get their information across is absolutely fundamental to cybersecurity and computer science. As we go on, we have a really good flight path for our year 12 to 13 students. That we currently offer A-level computer science, which goes on neatly from the GCSE, but we also offer courses in computing and information technology, and also cybersecurity, which again build on from what the students are learning earlier. Our little icing on the cake is we're running an EPQ in cyber, run by CySec, which offers students a little bit of an edge on what they're offering in terms of their qualifications to future employers or apprenticeships, and lets them explore their interests.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That's great. You mentioned there about how students talk to sort of break a server and then rebuild it. I think that brings us quite neatly onto how do you teach ethics and the legality alongside these technical skills? Obviously, they can be used in a negative way as well as a positive way.
Absolutely. So we have our policy is really we Spider-Man it up a little bit. So with all these superpowers becomes responsibility. As part of all those courses, right up from level 2, it's all about making sure that students know that they have that responsibility, and that the divide between those is a fine line, and it's the fact that if you cross it, you'll never work in cybersecurity ever again. Those choices, those apprenticeships, you'll have a police record and nobody will want you. We talk a great deal about the fact that if you are going to work for a lot of the organisations which we are signposting, you are going to have a real massive background check, and those background checks can go on for a long time, and are extremely detailed, and students need to be patient. They also, we get a lot of external speakers in. We had the Vice Air Marshal for cybersecurity, I remembered it now, came in and spoke to our students a couple of months ago, and he was very, very quick to remind our students about the capabilities of our external threats, but also those internal threats as well, where people that may turn around and do the wrong thing, and basically it'll ruin the rest of your life. What was really interesting and what was really, really fantastic about that talk is we had 2 alumni who had only graduated in the summer who are now on their programme, which was incredible. You can't get better than that. In the past, I've had FC, Freaky Clown, come in, who's a well-known talker about cybersecurity, and it does it in quite an amusing way about sort of what choices one makes, both from a physical point of view and a technological point of view. And his wife, Dr. Jessica Barker, as well, has done talks for me in the past, which is a really fantastic opportunity to make sort of a lot of things become real, talking about pop stars and how much their cybersecurity is important to them. Taylor Swift story is really important with that, and that's also brings it on to the point that it's really important because we want to try and encourage more women into getting involved in cybersecurity and computer science, which has been an ongoing task. So I've been involved with Cyber First for almost 10 years now, since I moved to Gloucestershire, and that has been the drive all the way through. We are a Cyber First Gold School, but like I said, I was really involved with that right from the first iteration, and it's really been a passion of mine to try and get everybody understanding why this is really important, and the fact that it's not frightening, and that people need to get past the idea that maybe GCSE computer science doesn't sound like it's going to be terribly exciting, and see that there's other things that go on after you've actually got that qualification.
So what employers are you working with through this course then?
So we are working with lots of different employees. So we have North Tower Consulting in Cleve in Gloucestershire, who are a fantastic, quite small company. They're experts in cybersecurity. They in a sort of all-round thing. They are going to come in and do another workshop with us. So they did one a couple of years ago. They were meant to come in before Christmas, but we had a flood day, unfortunately. So the idea is to capture the flag. So it's a real-time kind of thing. There was a little bit of an exercise where they could some of the super nerdy kids can go through and look at the code and do that kind of back of house stuff. We've got some of the students, particularly the ones doing creative art media. What do they say to the press? Do they lie, or do they come out and say, right, this has happened? And then we've got some students who are doing the enterprise, looking at procedural roles in that, and then looking at, okay, so how do we wind the clock back? How do we get back to where we used to be? And there's lots of really simple learning in it. So
Yeah.
not
Okay.
putting all your backup procedures in the same place where you put all your other stuff, like
Yeah.
let's all
Yeah.
go back to post-it notes. So trying to make things come alive, basically using people that come in and support. We have Moog, who's a local company. They come in quite a lot. I've got absolutely lists of them. But no, it's lovely. And what I like about it from my personal, slightly greedy point of view is that, you know, I never wanted to just be a computer science teacher. I came into teaching a long time ago, and I'm getting on a bit now. I just wanted to sort of talk about what these students do next. And I think it's absolutely wonderful that we have our alumni come back and they're the ones presenting back to them going, actually, we have made our dream come true. We did do this. But the other bit is making sure that our students know that it's hard work. It's not easy. Some of these companies come in, they laud it up, they do a big presentation, they go, oh, you could earn this, 34,000 there, da, 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 da. And then I say, how many kids are you going to take? And they say 2. And I said, not from this room. He said, no, 2 from the UK. And our students don't sometimes get that until it's a bit late when they go, oh, I thought you were going to serve it all up to me. So it's trying to muster. Hard work is really important. You've got to want it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, a lot of our students get that. And some of our students are quite young for their age and they don't get it. And that's, you know, that's hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. You've spoken a bit about alumni as well. What sort of destinations have students progressed from cybersecurity?
So they go absolutely all over the place. We've got a kid at McLaren. We've got Airbus. They go to different universities. Staffordshire, Bath. I think one in Plymouth. They're literally all over the shop.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all my questions, unless you had anything else to add.
No, but I think my key bit is that I think teaching students, you need to make sure that the stuff that you're teaching and the opportunities that you're teaching are as important as you teaching the kids as it is for the staff.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely.
And I think the difference with the UTC is you do have the ability, particularly in these option areas like engineering and digital, to go, this is more than just conveyor belt stuff. This is inspiring and engaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.